I think maybe everybody has to stop breathing.
Let's have a pitch, shall we? Breaking out a new pitch.
Well, I guess these fellas don't need any introduction. I'd like to welcome you all to the Homespun Learning Stage. This has been an exciting day of workshops, and this is certainly one of the most exciting. And I just need to say that both of these guys up here are long-time heroes of mine, so I'm thrilled to be able to introduce them. And, of course, they are both homespun artists, I have to say that.
So that helps right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Bush, David Grisman.
Thank you. You know, the most important part of any presentation is the sound check, you know, so we're going to do a little sound check for you right now.
You want me to play first?
Yeah, why don't you play first, Sam? I think he's too loud. Sam's too loud.
You play. Let me check. He's a little strong in my monitors. I think we're checked. Thank you. We figure we just play a couple right off the bat, if that's okay, and sort of get warmed up. You'll have to forgive us. We are true Mando buddies. We like to get together and play these things. So if we get a little goofy from time to time, it's normal
for us. You know? What shall we take here today?
Let's do one of the ones we played out. Just a warm up.
Here's a tune that was written by and for, with, and around the father of bluegrass music, Bill Monroe, called, this is what his band members called him, and still do call him, Big Mun.
I'm not worthy.
Any questions? Stage monitors?
Isn't this a rotating stage? Don't we turn?
Maybe we should play some blues.
Let's do it.
Some
Nah.
bluegrass type. Go ahead.
Neighbors, we'll get to all your requests if we possibly know them as the afternoon progresses. Of course, if you're a mandolin player, you know we don't enjoy tuning. You have to. And you got to keep doing it.
Right.
Have you ever had a mandolin that would stay in tune?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Didn't have any strings on it, but
Sound the same every day?
yeah, that's the agony of mandolin playing is always being out of tune. But you get used to it.
Yeah, it gets good to you after a while.
You start noticing other people are out of tune, too. Ever notice that?
Okay. This is, we're kind of starting out with a Bill Monroe kind of drift here, and this is Bluegrass Stomp.
Yes, sir.
Stomp is big.
You wanna... I'll tell you, Sammy.
And if you want to know how we did any of that, David remembers everything.
Here's a question.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I just started playing mandolin the last 6 months.
Me too.
Poems that inspired me.
Oh, wow.
And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Secondly, I'm trying to learn the tremolo technique, and I noticed that you did use a real conservative kind of
I've never been called that. This must be
In Mill Valley,
midlife.
California, he is conservative.
Hey, I started
I'm
out
sorry.
pretty radical, but I guess no.
the movement is much different than Sam's, which seems to be a lot more.
I never copied him when I started. He was 8 years old, man. Of course, that doesn't matter anymore.
That's right, Dave. Well, when you talk about tremolo, I mean, there's obviously different ways to do it, and sometimes it's almost a personal choice as to how you hold the pick. My favorite mandolin player for tremolo is the Dave here. And see how he's getting that? That's his special lick. That's the dog lick, I think it's called.
The tremolo is the rapid reiteration of up and down strokes.
And I just know, and I just think that I personally enjoy, and the way David plays his tremolo is in a free-handed style, and which to me is the best way to do it. It's the most fluid, especially, I mean, David's the king. Dave, would you demonstrate just for us, sir, please? But
Get my special tremolo pick
okay, get the
out.
tremolo
Yeah.
pick.
I can't tremolo without it.
But I just think Dave is the king of tremolo.
To me, it's sort of a free thing. It's not metronomic. I don't think it's. I don't know. It's. I always had a loose wrist, and that's the first thing I noticed about mandolin playing. And when I got my first mandolin, I just started doing that, and apparently it was the right way. But but I just lucked into that. But I really think it.
It was the right way.
I try to tell people to pretend you have a fan, and you're fanning yourself or fanning, you know.
When just beginning, what would you suggest? To start very slowly
But we've
and
got
get
a
your
lot of fans here.
get
right?
your stroke.
That helps.
Hey, no
Helps have
groaning
more
over there,
fans.
buddy.
You could start quiet, maybe.
Starting on one string, you think? Then working up to
Yeah, I would.
I mean,
Yeah.
a two-string tremolo.
Yeah, right. Just start slow too. But you just want it to be natural, I guess. Which, some people have a problem with that, but I don't, surgery maybe, I don't know. But Sam, he has a different kind of action involving more of his forearm, and he gets a lot of power, and hey man, his tremolo is shit, I mean, I didn't mean it that way, Sam.
I've always felt
he's
that
got-
way too. So we
No,
do
he's
have
got
more
a
in common
fine.
than I thought.
He sounds just like a mandolin player should.
Yeah,
Too much that way.
In my case, I used to hold the pick like Dave, and which I guess we would have, Bill Monroe, pretty much with the closed hand, and I still do for rhythm. On the very first Newgrass trip, my hand got caught in the car door, and these three fingers were chipped up a little bit, and so after that, I just simply there's something floats in there, and so I couldn't hold the pick the same way anymore. So that's when I started bracing my hand on the top, or one finger on the top. And although he's not a mandolin player, Doc Watson does it. It must be okay as far as I'm concerned. But
Hey,
really,
he is a mandolin player.
Hey,
I swear he is.
where is he? But it is a personal thing, and I mean, I like both kinds of tremolo where it's you're not constrained by tempo, where you are making flourishes. But I also like to try to do them where you're vastly, if the beat is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's different kinds, of course, but my tremolo is shit.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. Yes. Well, he's was Brazil's greatest mandolin player. This is a guy named Jacob do Bandolim, who sort of pioneered a whole style of music in Brazil called choro music. And I would say he's somewhere in between the Django Reinhardt and Bill Monroe of Brazil, playing mandolin. And it's a very passionate, virtuosic style of mandolin playing that I've gotten real addicted to listening to it for the past 15 years or so, and put out 2 volumes of his music on my record label. And so, well, it's hard to beat a man at his own game, I don't really play his style, but I admire it. Oh, boy.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Have we ever played that together?
Well, years ago, we might have.
We used to get together. This tune Russian Rag he speaks of is...
I could play rhythm for you, maybe.
Yeah, well... Why didn't you ask me last night? I could go home and practice that.
Yeah. Well, we might.
What we did do is try to sit down and figure out the certain fingering for the one chromatic.
Yeah, right. Play
like Wayfaring Stranger, something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. To illustrate the tremolo, maybe we'll play an old hymn gospel number called "The Wayfaring Stranger." What key? Yeah, that's a good key. Sure. Yeah. Kick it off.
Thank you.
We'll send that out to Sam's Mandolin. That's Hoss there. Yeah. Sure. We both have F5, pre-war F5s, pre-Cold War, pre-Korean War, and pre-World War II.
All of them.
Sam's, I believe, is 37?
Yes.
1937 F5, which is a very rare mandolin. And he's had it for a number of years. I believe it's been refinished.
22 years. Yeah, I got this in 1973. It belonged to Norman Blake before I had it. And it's kind of thing, I heard him, we were opening the band Revival, we were opening the show for John Hartford, Norman Blake, and in New York City, and I walked in the club, and I could hear this mandolin all the way at the entrance, and the PA wasn't on yet, and it was one of those, on your knees, if you ever sell it, please, sell it to me. Well, he didn't, but but at one point...
he stole it that night.
He sold it. No, he made a trade with Tut Taylor for another instrument. Tut called me, yeah, and I got it at that time. And
you mean he went and sold it to Tut after he promised it to you?
Well, he told Tut I wanted it.
Hey, man.
Hey,
that
man.
ain't right.
I know. Sure, but it kind of
sounds like a conspiracy to me.
Sure. Can you say conspiracy?
Yeah.
Sure. I think it was.
Oh, sure.
But they played nice later. Yes, but before Norman got rid of this, he and John Hartford one night decided to scrape all the original finish off. And and they did. And the original finish was so thick you couldn't see the grain of the wood in the neck on this thing. So it had a ton of finish on it during the period that Gibson made this. So this finish was put on by Tut Taylor in 1973. It's varnish, not lacquer. And I'm not really as hard as it looks like on a mandolin, but it's been used with love, shall we say. David?
Yeah, this one I'm using with love. This is...
Wait a minute. Do you smell something there? Yeah. It's love.
Yeah, it's love.
It's love.
It's
I feel it everywhere in this room.
smells love. Oh, anyhow,
It's love.
this is a 1922 Gibson F5 signed by that crazy guy who used to work at the Gibson factory and sign labels, Lloyd Lohr. And I got this about 5 years ago from the family of the original owner, whose picture was on the cover of the October 1922 issue of Crescendo magazine. You remember that issue. Willa Dahl. And they got hold of me and offered me this mandolin, and it sounded pretty darn good. And I've been playing it ever since. It was like brand new, and I've put a few little scars in it, but you know, what the heck, you know, it's the price you pay.
These are old Gibsons, but we both own other mandolins that aren't, old Gibsons.
I got one right here.
Just happen to have one, and
in case
but that's a
somebody asked that question.
great thing about mandolins these days. You don't have to. Not only are they hard to find, very expensive, you don't have to get an old Gibson now to have a good
You don't
sounding
have to
mandolin.
have just one either.
Hey.
Well, this one isn't an oval hole, but this is an A style.
The difference is Bill Monroe would just don't play a round hole, and that's the difference. Well, for me, the F hole. It's like an F hole guitar. It's a less sustain, a sharper attack, better for closed chords, and we all wanted to play one because Bill Monroe played one.
Microphones.
Yeah.
So more what I would call contained sound. The oval hole is more open, and actually has got they're deeper and
Deeper, more sustained.
yeah, but they're
a little more.
It's harder to control the tone of them, and of course they're cheaper, so it makes collecting them less worthwhile.
We play these because Bill Monroe played one.
Right. And because we got good deals on them.
Yeah.
This is a brand new A-style mandolin. It's actually an A5 with F holes, made by Steve Gilchrist from Australia. The blonde. Basically, you just go for a sound or a feel that you like. The late great Jethro Burns, one of our big inspirations, he always went for playability. He wanted the mandolin that played the easiest.
He liked a brand
Heck,
new
if
mandolin.
it don't sound good, I'll just put a pickup on it.
I don't change my strings. I turn up the treble. I use
So
Black
it's just-
Diamond because they're cheap.
Right, it's just a lot of different ways to go.
But it really, and as far as, when you're playing, when you find that instrument that it just feels like jumping into a hot tub of water, it feels so good. That's when you find one. And it is playability as much as anything. Like my mandolin, the necks on our two F5s are nothing alike. And this one's pretty wide as Gibson necks go. So I got this one, and I got used to that, so now that's what I prefer. But it really is, you get glued into instruments, and you really do start making your style around certain instruments sometimes.
What's your favorite song?
My favorite song. I like Neil Skinner Blues by Bill Monroe about as well as anything in the world. Oh, I can't sing it. No. But you just right off the bat. I don't know, what's yours? Sally Gooden? Fair enough.
It might be my favorite song, too, because when I brought Monroe Grisman home from the hospital, that's the first thing I played him.
His son.
Now he's a rock
Monroe.
and roller,
He's got a good name, though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, here.
Oh, what's your other son's name, Dave?
Samson.
I tell people he's named after me. Who's to know?
My dad was named Sam.
Exactly.
But hey,
I know he always
I'd
brings
be
up that
proud
was
to
my
have a
dad's.
son named after you, Sammy. You can go on.
Should we promo our new album we're going to make?
Yeah, we got a new album we're planning. It's going to be called Sam and Dave. Hold on, we're strumming. You like that? Would you buy one?
But it's going to be a long planning stage.
Yeah, we've been planning it for about 15 years.
It's in the planning stages right now.
Let's see. We don't have one.
Figured somebody was doing that already.
Go ahead. Yeah, this is one I'm going to just play some rhythm for Sam. You know, he does a wonderful job. Maybe you could do Grey Eagle in a reggae version. Nah, just do Grey Eagle. Yeah. All right. Pick the Watson Blues. You know that one?
Watson Blues. I'll play it with you. I think that's the way that goes.
I invited every Jerry that I could find. Jerry Lewis couldn't make it. Dr. Jerry Graham, he just about, he couldn't make it either. Jerry? I don't know. Where is Jerry? Anybody seen him?
Actually,
I haven't seen him.
the remaining 3 Beatles are supposed to come this weekend.
Nice.
If they answer the letter I wrote them. We'll see. I don't know. Response yet.
Yeah, we couldn't reach him either.
Now, let's not let this fall well, get out of hand. I mean...
You are? I heard about people like you. Yeah, we could do that.
You must be
one.
from Kentucky. Hey, I'm from Kentucky. Get out of here.
That's
Take
a
it
song
easy.
for
Take
the
it
whole
easy.
family. I could try.
I gotta save that for my set, man. I'm only doing 20 minutes and that's half the set.
Your right-hand chop technique, your rhythmic technique with your right hand.
Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes to just chopping mandolin, I think if anybody that ever makes a rhythm chop,
You need an axe.
well, we got the axes for chopping right here. And anytime you talk about a rhythm chop or chunk, you might call it, but chopping is what I've always talked about, is whether or not you've studied Bill Monroe or not. If you do that chop, you have been influenced by him, because to me he is the guy that first made that sound, and for us guys, a great way to play rhythm on the mandolin. And really, different players just have different chops. It's just a matter of the way your hands do it. I mean, David and I can sit and play for hours, but we really don't chop alike. But we do play together. That's the key. But I mean, when it comes to chopping, I mean, I kind of like sort of think of it after years of being in a band with no drums, kind of like the snare drum, and that would be my first approach. Really, when the first David Grisman Quintet album came out, I thought that was so cool that there was always one mandolin playing rhythm while the other one soloed. That I really liked. Because as mandolin players, you don't get to hear that mandolin chop when you solo, so that's what's fun about this. But it does get down to just a personal thing, and mine might be a little more staccato than some others, whereas, because when David chops, I can probably hear the chord a little more than when I do it. Mine, I just kind of...
Unless I do that.
Or you do like that. But, so for me, I mean, and we can both talk about the different ways, but for me, I mean, it's like, as I chop, I'm probably almost releasing the chord as my pick strikes the strings, because if I didn't, it would be that. So it's almost as if I've already pressed the strings down and I'm sort of on the way back up by the time I actually hit it. And you can tell what key I'm in. Well, the main way you can tell what key I'm in is when I do hit the wrong chord. Then you can hear it. But just as a matter of what appeals to you and what you develop over the years. Doctor?
Also, you can take that idea and apply it to other kinds of music and play other rhythmic, percussive, sort of drum-based rhythms, all kinds of them on the mandolin, and then you can...
Reggae works great. I mean, the first time I heard Bob Marley, the thing that I noticed the most was that his rhythm guitar reminded me of a bluegrass mandolin player. Chopping on the backbeat.
Funk rhythms, It's that backbeat, but it can happen lots of different.
What are y'all still bitching about the monitors back here?
No, it's a great rhythm instrument. Gets you to thinking about chords because the mandolin is, kind of limited in terms of the chords it can make because it's kind of high-pitched and there's only 4 notes. So I get into a lot of 3-string chords, and it's good to know a bit about chord theory so you can select the right notes. And it's kind of an interesting thing to work out playing rhythm parts on the mandolin.
I should learn some of this stuff.
Yeah, I'll show you my favorite chord. It's this one.
Yeah.
Anybody know the name of that chord? Hey, good for you. All right. She wins.
What'll she receive, Dave?
A free set of mandolin strings, that's very good. Good ears. Oh. You want us to write one together? What?
That'd be good.
Oh. Okay, if it's...
We've never played like many of my tunes at the same time. I have been fortunate enough to, sit in with the Grisman Quintet quite a few times, so we'll definitely do one of those. We know one of those.
EMD? Yeah. All right.
You want to do that? Or you want to get your...
I was going to show you a new one,
Show me a new one.
No. I got a new one. I actually played on the mandola, but it'll work on the mandolin. And this is sort of my view of the future, this tune. It's called Dawgnation. Sort of like Damnation, I don't know. Let's see. Let me show you the chords. This is how we show each other tunes. Then I'll let Sam show me one of his if he's got one easy enough. This is it'll be an A minor.
That's a dog. Excuse us, photo op. Every baseball game I go to, I keep score. I got a scorecard.
We don't read or write music. No.
We just make it up.
No.
Actually, David is proficient at reading and writing musical notation.
But I make these tunes up pretty much, and writing them out comes later if I'm working with somebody that needs to have it written out, or that's often helpful. Or if I'm trying to learn a piece that's written out, that's great. I think it's a great tool. But, nobody ever heard notes on paper. They still, you got to play them. So a lot of musicians that come up playing bluegrass, since that isn't a form that, people get out of books, it's an oral, A-U-R-A-L tradition. So that's a gret way to learn and develop your ear. But it doesn't hurt to be able to be a great sight reader. It puts a lot of music, and especially nowadays, when I started trying to learn bluegrass, there were no books on bluegrass. In fact, I spent 1.5 years writing one, and then they wouldn't publish it because I put all the real stuff in there, and publisher couldn't get permission for half of it. But actually, that's the way I learned a lot of Bill Monroe and Jesse McReynolds, Bobby Osborne solos, by trying to write them out. And I would strongly recommend that. Yeah, sure, a little bit. I'm not that great at it, but basically his style is a what in banjo playing would be a backwards roll. It's a down, up, up. And you can make a lot of real nice open-sounding chord positions, such as this E position here. And there's a common pattern that's down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, down. Or down, up, or rather up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's just finding a lot of chords to work into that. I used to try and get with a lot of that style, but I noticed Jesse has got a very unusual pick motion with his fingers. Right. Just these two fingers, they move like little, they're like spiders, or a spider, and I can't do that, so I can't get the speed that he does. Maybe Sam can add something to that.
Only just that when you think of cross picking, I mean, one of the things is to try to utilize open strings and make them, and it's the idea of another, and normally on a mandolin, if you were hitting these notes, they're leading to one another, but they don't sustain into each other. With this way, and then that's one of Jesse's lick. So instead of going, Jesse's way would be almost banjo-like.
Yeah.
Can you talk about string gauges you prefer and also action on the neck?
Oh, yeah. These I use Gibson Monosteel set number 161, and I've just always used those. For me, they last longer than bronze. I'm blessed with that killer perspiration that just, after 3 songs, your strings are dead, and in the mountains or altitude, it's really, really worse for me. But endorse something there, Dave?
I use these strings that have my name on them here. I actually get these stickers off TV sets. Says David Grisman picks this set, and you get a free paper pick with it. No, these are Diodario phosphor bronze. The gauges are 40, 26, 15, and 11 thousandths. And I actually started custom ordering these strings about 15 years ago because their normal set was lighter than these strings, and these are a little heavier. But then I got even heavier strings, and they were too heavy. So I think it's sort of, when I was playing bluegrass years ago, volume was it was the quest for volume to be heard, with the banjo and loud singing. So I had my action real high as I could stand it, and tried to get the most volume out of the instrument. But in recent years, after I met Jethro Burns and some of these other virtuosos, they explained to me that it's the way to play extremely difficult things is, for one thing, to have an easier playing action. So that kind of made sense. So I try to strike a medium between, getting a good tone. I don't like it to be so low that the strings buzz. And so that requires it to be, because I can make nearly anything buzz.
What are you doing later?
And whatever. Yeah, medium action is what I go
Do we
for.
have a question? Jitterbug.
You know that one? Yeah. D, yeah. That's it. Anybody know the time? I knew I shouldn't have asked you guys.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We got 15, 20 more minutes. We have to kill. Okay. You got.
Again. Hey.
Yeah, Sam is an outrageously great fiddle player, man. Now, it did say fiddle and mandolin.
I'm sorry, I just get having fun with this dog up here and yeah, got stuck there.
Well, no, hey, I don't.
Hey, man.
Great.
Of course.
You don't want to hear me play fiddle, believe me.
Any other questions while I compose myself?
What? With the dog name? That was a nickname that I got when I was in a band called Olden in the Way. That was my nickname. And then I started, playing my own music, and people would say, well, what do you call that music? What is that music? So I figured if I had a generic name for it, then I would not ever have to explain it. But I didn't realize that when I did that, then I would have to explain the name. So that's what I've been doing for 20 years now. It's just, as Shakespeare said, what's in a name? Pardon? Right. No, I've had several bouts with tendinitis, and that's more of an occupational hazard to me. But mandolin playing is very strenuous, and the main thing is if you play a lot and it starts hurting, stop. You got to pace yourself.
One thing I can recommend, having the fortune of breaking 2 elbows in 1 year. I'm out of elbows. I'm not breaking anymore. And
yeah, I got.
But it was a
well
crazy
with that.
year, the 1994 for me, and it's such an elementary thought, but you can get so wrapped up in playing that you forget that you need muscles to do it. And so as I've gone through physical therapy to try to learn to bend my elbow again, I've found that the stronger I get my arms, the better it feels when I play. Now, obviously, you can overdo that too, but don't forget that every once in a while, we all like to sit in our rooms and hunker down over these instruments, and but I've actually trying, getting a better muscle base has been helping me a lot.
What could we play, Davey?
EMD stands for Eat My Dust.
Is that from a movie?
Does. Eat My Dust. It was a movie.
That's for a movie?
I didn't want to plug the movie, so I just used the initials. It was one of those.
Pickups. You don't use one of them, do you, dog?
I pick up a band every once in a while, but
Yeah, when we were younger, pickups meant a whole different thing, but that's all over now. We figure, why lather up if you ain't gonna shave? The pickup system on my... That's a Jethro quote. The pickup system on both mandolin and fiddle that I use, on the mandolin, it's an old Barkasberry hot dot, and it's just literally wedged between the 2 bridge pieces, and a Countryman mic as well. So it's like I try to have a semblance of a microphone sound as well, in a combination. It's not an acoustic sound; it's a miking compromise that I enjoy. Being able to cut through when you're on a package show with a loud band or something. But it's just a matter of preference. But I've gotten used to that. Those things run as well as the Fiddle is a Bargasberry bridge with a Sony mic down here, and goes to a stereo jack, and the stereo cord goes to a preamp made by Richard Battaglia. Hello. And that's why I don't use mics anymore. I just bump into them all the time. That goes to a preamp made by Richard Battaglia, and that preamp splits the signal, so the out front sound man is getting a microphone as well as the pickup. And depending on the PA, the situations, and outdoor situations, the weather even can affect, you try to get the microphone as loud as you can get it, but the pickup's there for reinforcement, so it's just a miking compromise. And I use a little polytone amp on stage, and nobody really hears that one but me, so that's like a little stage monitor for myself. She's trying to get me to play just soft enough to not break as many strings, because I asked David once, I'm breaking too many strings. What do you think? He says, I think you're playing too hard. And he was right. So, but that's for stage sound.
Yeah, it's hard to. It's tough. I'm going down with the acoustic ship myself.
Well, it's the kind of thing for me when I'm playing in a jam session. If everyone's acoustic, there's no way I would want to play electric. I would want to blend in that way. If other people are electric, then I want to be plugged in too.
I would suggest just get your own band and tell everybody to play quiet.
Yeah. Hey, I like that.
Let's play a good old-time fiddle number.
The Blackberry Blossom.
All right. The incredible Sam Bush. Any last questions? Pardon? Cattle on the cane. I don't, but I'll fake it.
It's like the first part's A major.
Okay.
It's G and A type.
I've probably heard it.
The second part's
I'll back
A
you up.
minor.
A
Same
minor.
type of chord. Okay. What?
Well, we were going to get cattle in the cane first. Or
Let's do Caleb. I think I will.
Is this where
I
it
might
is?
be speaking in
Is this-
tongues by then.
Is this where it is? The Midnight Jam?
Is that Midnight Jam at the Walker Center? Yes, okay. Yeah, you can come too, Dave. I'm telling you, we're too old to do that. It's midnight. I can't stay up that late.
It's only 9 p.m. in California, Sam.
Oh, okay. I'll be there.
Sam and Dave. Sam Bush, David Grisman.